Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to a new Let's Play by Jaylbayt, which is me, of Stardrive 2. Now Stardrive 2 is a 4X space simulator game. The 4X stands for Explore, Expand, Exploit, and Exterminate. These are the types of things that you do typically throughout the game, and it's made by Zero Sum Games. Zero is basically a one-man crew. He did the entire game with the help of some artists and that sort of thing, but for the most part, all of it is his. Now, if you've ever played Master of Orion 2 and loved it, you will enjoy this game. If you've ever played Xcom, there are elements in the game that are like that as well, so you'll enjoy the game. I really am pleased with the way this game has turned out. It's got all of the elements of a traditional space 4X game like Master of Orion, but where it was lacking in things like ground combat and stuff like that, Zero's added in a lot of cool things like an actual playable ground battle that kind of has sort of like an XCOM feel to it. So let's get into this and see what we can do. The options you can see here, not a ton. This disabled GNN, this is the Galactic News Network. Every now and again it'll pop up and give you some news about stuff. And so if you don't want to see that, it's just a little bit of flavor, you can disable that here. Now one thing I will recommend is this game is extremely loud. And so normally I would just turn the music down. However, there's an ambient sounds and stuff that the GNN and some ambient sounds in the game goes off of that you can't modify. So this will remove some of the, lower the music volumes, some of the sound effects, but that ambient noise you can't get rid of, and it's really hard to record with. So if you want to get rid of those things, what I suggest doing is going into your actual computer settings and lowering the sound output in your mixer for the game. Alright, so let's jump in. There's a bunch of different races, and we probably won't get a lot, little disclaimer I guess here, this is just kind of an intro into the game. We probably won't get a lot of actual playing done, that'll happen in the next episode. But I wanted to really outline the game so that you could see what this game is about and what all the different things you can do with it. So if you are looking to just jump right into the gameplay, probably want to go into my next episode, and that's where the gameplay will start. But to get into this, our races, it's got 9 different playable races that you can play as, and each one are unique and different in their own way, based on the different things that they can do, and it's all based on these racial traits. Now with these racial traits, we'll get into them in a little bit, but you can customize them so that you can play as a customizable race. But let's go through the races one by one here just real quick and just kind of talk about what they are and what they do. The Chordrazine are these like mollusk things, and their big deal is that they have slow breeding, but they make up for it by dominating this race, and they are very good slavers. There's these things called slave pits you can get, and they start with it, and whenever they attack, they will subjugate those that they conquer and force them into slavery. So interesting concept there. The humans are humans, and they're called the United Federation here. Now typically in 4X games, humans tend to lean towards like the diplomatic powerhouses. They're very diplomatic, and so they can get along well and do a lot of trade and that sort of thing. In this game it's kind of different. Zero has given them kind of a little bit better at most things. So they're a little bit better at research, a little bit better at industry, and a little bit better in their military as well. However, to offset this, they're corrupt, and so a lot of their tax revenue is reduced because of the corruption, and so they make a little bit less money. So they have to kind of manage their money a little bit. The polyp symbiosis are these plant people, and they are baby makers. They're fertile. They only consume like half a food per turn for each population point that they have, so they're really good at pumping out a lot of population. So their focus in the game is to spread their seed okay, spread their seed throughout the world. or throughout the galaxy, and just they're huge expansionists. The Chuck affiliation are kind of like one of the jerk races of the game. You can see that they're repulsive. They have minus 25 to relations starting with every race, and they are just warmongers. So you can see peerless space fighters. They just love to go and conquer, and they can produce at a fairly decent rate. So these guys are ones to watch out for. Next you have the Kolrathi Shogunate. Now this is kind of shows that Zero got a lot of his ideas and a lot of the groundwork for this game, I think, from Master of Orion 2, because there was a kind of bestial race in Master of Orion 2 called the Bullrathi, and so now we have the Kolrathi Shogunate. Coincidence? I don't know. Anyways, the Kolrathi Shogunate are basically space bear samurais. They are very honorable. They won't break treaties with people, so they're kind of a really good race to have as allies. And they are ground attack specialists. I mean, if you get into a ground battle with these guys, it's going to be painful because they're ferocious warriors, so they have bonus hit points, and they're really beefy on the ground. And one cool thing about ground combat that was missing from a lot of Space 4X games is that in the space battles, you can actually board ships and have boarding actions. So these guys, that's kind of what they do, is they would, since they have such good ground attack warriors, they will go in and they will try to board your ships to force ground battles that they are vastly superior at. Next we have the Rallier Theocracy. Now, these guys are crazy fanatic zealots who worship Cthulhu. They call him the Elder God, but we know better. Basically, their whole thing is that they are going to spread the truth of the Elder God through the galaxy, and you will convert or die. So if you are into that type of play style, these guys are the ones for you. Next up we have the Draylock Council. Draylocks are an interesting race, and I think this is what we're going to play as. Because I think a lot of Let's Plays are going to show off like humans because they're humans. Maybe some of the Chuck or maybe the Samurai Bears, I don't know. And have kind of a militaristic view on the game. Well, the Draylock Councils are spy masters and super traders. They're very charismatic, so they do a lot of diplomacy. These guys kind of fill partially the role that humans typically fill. And so I really want to play as these guys because I want to see how viable it is to just build up a huge economic powerhouse and basically just buy everything that we need and trade with people to get what we need, and whatever they won't trade with us, we'll spy and steal it from them. And the spying works really cool in this game, and I'll show that off. Next we have the Opteris Hive. These are your typical mechanical cybernetic race of the galaxy, and as you might suspect, they are industrious workers. They have high production and a bit of extra research. Cybernetic is an interesting thing in that they don't experience population growth from food and breeding and that sort of thing. Instead, the only way to grow your population is to build new citizens. And so I think this could be an interesting gameplay aspect, is that you're basically building up your population using your extra industry and whatnot. And then finally we have the Volfar Imperium, and these guys are the werewolves, basically. They are the swarm fleet of the game. Their idea, you can see here, is they have rapid breeders, so they have huge growth rates, but they're dumb, and their ships are kind of poop. So they are like, breed as many people as possible, pump out as many ships as you can, and just send them out to swarm the enemy, or in this case, they are going to wolf pack attack your face. So if you are into the swarm mentality, the swarm style of fighting, then these are the guys for you. Um, but like I said, I think we're going to play with the Jaylbayt Council. Now with the customization, you can come in here and you can customize the entire race from scratch. So right now you can see we've got 2 negative picks from the ground HP here, our timid warriors, right? So we can't pull this off because we've used up 12 points already in charismatic, spy masters, and fantastic traders. But if we remove all this, you can see we've got 10 points to pick through stuff, and then up to 10 negatives to give us more points for more positive things. So if we wanted to be, you know, maybe super ship builders and good space fighters with those ships, we can do that. But maybe we're dumb about it, you know, or maybe we have not good relations with the rest of the galaxy to help us buy more stuff. You can do whatever you want. Let me set this back to what this was. Okay. And what I've done is because I was a big fan of Master of Orion 2, I actually made a couple of races. First one was in Master of Orion 2, there was the cybernetic race there called the Mechlar. So what I did is I made a Mechlar race. And what you can see here is their +2 production, and they're cybernetic and repulsive because they don't care about the rest of the universe. They're going to fill it up with machines anyways. And so I basically went to the Master of Orion 2 racial traits and tried to translate them as close as I could for the Mechlar and also for the Cylons. Now, the one thing I noticed in this game is that there's no real, like, pure science race. So I wanted to make one based on that, and it looks like my Cylon thing didn't save. That's too bad. Well, let's go in and let's look at the customization of the Cylons. So we'll get rid of this extra stuff that we had here. And so what I wanted them to be was creative. I had a low G homeworld because that was one of the things that that was in the original Master of Orion thing. And then I wanted them to be, where is it? The thirst for knowledge, this +2 research. But I needed to have some extra stuff. So I figured super brains are pretty timid in their warriors because they're always in the lab. Also, they're workaholics, so they would be slow to breed. They don't get girlfriends that often. And then I just needed one more point, so I figure with all their research, they have depleted most of the richness of their homeworld, and then that allowed us to get this thirst for knowledge. So if we continue here, you can see here, we have a low G homeworld, we're thirst for knowledge, we're creative, and what creative does is when you do research, and you'll see this more in the game, when you do research, you'll have like 6 or 7 areas of research, like physics and agriculture and construction, and in those there's 10 levels, I think 10, maybe more, but each level has like 2 or 3 different research topics that you can choose from. The problem is you only get to choose one, and then it goes up to the next level, and you can't go back and choose other ones. So if you want those researches, you'll have to trade for them, spy for them, maybe find them scattered throughout the galaxy in derelicts or special events. But you can't get them all unless you're creative. So as a pure research race, I figured as they would be creative, they would get all the technology, they would pump it out as fast as possible, and their kind of focus would be, we are going to beat the enemy and conquer the galaxy through higher tech. You know, they may have 500 ships and I may have 10, but my 10 ships have so much shield technology and weapons technology that will eat through those 500 ships without, you know, blinking an eye. So that's kind of the idea that a purely research-based race would go off of. And I think I'll play one of these in the future, either my Mechlars or my Cylons, maybe both, just to see how viable these are. Because creative is very powerful. Not having to worry about getting tech from other sources can be very helpful, especially if you have a huge research focus, because you can jump out ahead of the tech very quickly, which means typically, as it has been in most 4X games, and so I assume that it will be similar in this, the more tech you get, the less ships you have to build, because each ship can basically hold off more lower tech ships. So we'll see if that works, possibly in the future, but in this playthrough we're going to start as the Jaylbayt Council. I want to get my trade on and my spy master on. I want to check and see if this is a viable way to do things, because the spying is really cool, and I think that'll be fun. All right, so our name is going to be, we'll say Lord Jaylbayt of the Jaylbayt Council. It's like the Dark Council, right? Lord Jaylbayt, Darth Jaylbayt. And so you can see here, this is the game settings. We'll stick with the Jaylbayt race name and the council for the Empire's name. We'll leave the difficulty at normal. This may still kick my butt. I mean, I haven't played the game. The game's only been out for a few days. So we'll keep it at normal. I mean, I may be better off going on easy because I haven't had a lot of experience in the game, but we'll give it a go. And if we die, we die. This lets us decide how many opponents we want to play with. 1 through 8. We'll keep it at 5. Empire color, that's very pink. But it looks like there's no darker colors that matter. So I'd like a dark purple or something. I think that would be really cool. You can come in here and select your opponents if you so choose. And you can even change their racial attributes. So if you make a bunch of custom races and you want to fight against them and see how they do, you can do that here. You can set the AI to be aggressive. They will be very aggressive from the get-go, no matter what race they are and what stats they have. And then over here, you just choose which races you want. The only thing is that if you want to play against 5 dudes and choose the races, you have to choose all 5. You can't just choose one and have the rest be random. So you either go all random here, or you choose your opponents up to the number. The system distribution, you can have a random system where it will probably provide you, let's see, it says it'll provide you with quicker alien contact. Clusters may cause you to not meet any aliens till late in the game, and the spiral is a good balance of opportunities. So random is, they're just kind of randomly distribute where you are as in the relationship to others, and they're kind of all over the place. Clusters has tighter clusters of stars, so you'll have the opportunity to like branch out, colonize a bunch of stuff in your cluster, and then maybe later on you venture out when you have the fuel technology to get further away to find some of the other races, and then spiral's a good balance. So I think what we'll do is, let's go with a spiral. Let's go with the balance, because we don't want to be in a cluster as this race specifically, because we do want to meet other races. We do want to get trade started and that sort of thing. And I think spiral galaxies are pretty cool. We'll leave these as classic, and normal. Hostile threats are like non-race entities, like pirates. There's this crystal race in the game that isn't actually one of the races, and they're really annoying and strong, and so you gotta watch out for them. And then we'll leave these as it is. Tutorials we're going to turn off, because those will just be annoying, I think. And then the random personalities can be an interesting one. So what this will do is, as I said, the werewolf faction like to swarm and that sort of thing. Well, if you randomize their personalities, they will have completely different random stuff that they do. They may act like You know, the peaceful guys may act like warmongers, the warmongers may act like peaceful guys and diplomats. It's all random. So that's something you can play with if you so desire. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. And the Jaylbayt Council. A gift from the gods, it seems, in an hour of need. The Stardrive descends from heaven, lands in the philosophies of that pious princess Zenobia, and the whole world forgets what they're doing and gets in line. For centuries we've made attempts to extend our influence throughout our own solar system, but it seems that whichever gods we were worshipping at the time lacked the power of Zenobia's gods. Hers can travel faster than light, it seems, and poof, overnight, the nobility realizes there is profit to be made in abundance out amongst the stars. With the prospect of infinite wealth acting as a motivator, the commercial and political disputes that once caused so much strife seem to instantly transform into a mutually profitable frenzy of greed and ambition. Too bad Zenobia suffered from such an unfortunate and tragic accident on the eve of her triumph. The duty to lead the Jaylbayt people into the stars now lies with you. May you have one eye open for profit and the other watching your back. Interesting. So, let it be known, if you started the Jaylbayt Council, you basically murdered your predecessor to take her position as leader of the Jaylbayt people. That's just lovely. All right, so here we are right at the beginning here. This is our planet. You can see some of the structures that we could build that we have access to. Over here we have spies that we can build. That's nice, but we don't know anybody yet, so I'll hold off on building spies. These are some of the basic ships that we have created, or designed rather, and we can build these to help defend our space. And then these are some of the non-combat vessels. I haven't really gotten into construction ships yet. Colony ships are pretty self-explanatory. Freighter fleets are actually very important early on. You want to have a good base of freighter fleets early, because if you get into a trade agreement, they're going to use up your freighter fleets. If you colonize a world that needs food, your freighter fleets are going to deliver that food. If you have ground troops that you need to get out to, like a derelict ship to search, you need freighter fleets for that. So pumping out a couple of freighter fleets early on will be good for you. And each one gives you two. They're up here. And the trade transports are the ones that will really suck up your freighter fleets. There are three types of trade agreements you can make with opposing factions. There's a small, medium, and large trade agreement, and each one of those uses up two trade fleets, or two freighter fleets. So if you do a small one, it'll use two. If you do a medium, up to 4 freighters can be used. And if you do the large, I think it's up to 6 will be used. And obviously the bigger the trade agreement, the more money you will make, but the more commitment your freighter fleet will have. And these focus on trade. So if there is trade to be had, they will be assigned there. There is no way for you to get them to stop unless you build more fleets. So it's good to have a couple freighter fleets going right off the bat, and then you can maybe start looking into either making like another colony ship, or maybe you want to do like a screener here. This is just one of the ships. 39 turns, that's too much. But just so that you have some more defense, not bad idea in case the pirates or somebody tries to attack you early on. And then as we meet people, we'll build up some spies. And as we research, we'll get buildings that we can build as well. But this seems like a good starting lineup there. Normally I would like to build a colony ship, but it takes a lot to build a colony ship. So, and we start with one. In here, this is our planet. You can see we've got our people, 8 population, and if we come over here, you can see our food. So food per farmer is 2. Our farmer output with 4 dudes there is 8, and the consumption by race is 8. So unless you're that one race, basically each population point you have requires 1 food. So you need to make sure that you do that. You have enough food for everybody, or else they'll start starving. And like I can show you here, if we pull it off, we're going to start losing population. And this is a shrinking population, and it will shrink until you have enough food to feed your population. So you got to be careful. The other thing here is we have our workers, and they are what produce things. The problem is they also produce pollution, and pollution will take away from your production. So if you have 20 pollution and 22 production, you're probably only going to get 2 net production, which is really poopy. So it's a good balance you need to watch. As you put more and more people on here, you start building up more and more pollution. And eventually this starts to scale up. So you may have like 10 and 6. And so it's actually an interesting balance to find out what is going to get you the most production based on your pollution management. So if you can manage your pollution better, it will help you out. All right. The other thing you notice is we're here. We don't have enough food. They get angry. So that's -4 on their production because they don't have enough food to eat. But if we put one here, there we go. We're producing 2 pollution. So that's +5, a net +5, and here's a net +6. So we'll leave it like that. So that's an interesting thing that you can do. Down here are our ground troops. You can upgrade each one of them with specific loadouts. So maybe you want this guy, he's got evasion and whatnot. Let's give him maybe some heavy armor as well. Okay, and that changes things. These guys all have weapons. Maybe this guy, he's got a combat knife and laser rifle. Let's give him a med kit. You know, this guy will give him a deployable shield to help shield from enemy attacks. All kinds of interesting things that you can do here. And then you can do some of these preloaded ones. So sniper, we can set him up as a sniper. And you can create new ones to help with your ground troops so that you can quickly set them up the way you want. And so the sniper will sit behind a shield and shoot people and heal himself or heal other people as the need arises. Whereas a brawler, let's go here. A brawler is up close and personal. He's got some armor and he's got a med pack to help heal himself when he takes damage. So a lot of customization here. Also, as you learn new techs, you'll get more options to give them. All right, and then our build queue, we looked at that already. Let's go ahead and leave the planet. And this is our planet. Here's our fleet. We've got a colony ship and a fighter, or a explorer ship. Basically a little scout to scout things out. And we can look, oh my gosh, medium Gaia, look at the population there. 15, up to 15. This is an incredible start. Not only do we have that, we have some really good stuff here. So megafauna, it's like the dinosaur age. Easy to keep away from our colonies with fencing and hunting. It would be cool if we could tame some of them and strap laser cannons to them. Gain a special project. Interesting. Very interesting. So when we come here and colonize this, a special project will come up that says that we can do something cool with this if we do satisfy certain objectives. And in some places, this could be like red, which is a bad thing. I think I had one where it was like hostile fauna. So the plants would like to eat our people. But once I sent 4 ground troops over there, they went through and mowed down all the hostile fauna, and that negative effect went away. This also has some resources. So this planet is freaking amazing. So right away, I'm going to send our colony ship right over here to colonize, because that's just too good. It does have a poor richness, so the industry won't be as good, but 15 population is just going to pump out so much good stuff. I mean, this could just be a food planet, and we'll just export food to everywhere else. All right, so let's go over a couple more things. This is our options menu, lots of different options we can do there. Our research here, remember as I told you, there's these different sections, and then you choose one out of each of these sections, and each one, you only get the one, and then if you look at this list, it'll go to number 2, and then we pick one out of this, and then we go to number 3, and then we can pick one out of this. So we have to be really picky and choosy about what research we get, what's going to affect us and help us the most. And if there's any other ones that we want, we'll have to go and check with other races to see if we can maybe trade some technology or trade routes or whatever to get that technology from them. Ooh, my voice is going crazy. So to start off with, I always like to either start with a food thing, so that when we colonize, we have things to help our population get food so that they can focus on industry, or get some industry so that our population can grow faster, or rather not our population, but our buildings can happen faster on those new planets so that they can build extra things like these solar farms. Now, because we have such a great planet to start with early, and I'm sure we can pump out a lot of food there, I'm actually going to start with industry. And I may actually hold off on some of this agriculture because we have such a great uh, food source on that new planet. Um, Now you can see here, automated rover bay over there in the up here in this area. It produces one production per worker, one extra production per worker, and a 5 flat production bonus. That is gold on new planets. Okay, the Xenomine is nice because plus 3 production per worker. If you have more than if you have 3 or more workers, you're going to get 9 production bonus out of that. Whereas here you would only get 8 with 3 workers. So this one gives you a little bit more production, but you have to have the population to get that going. So this is good on already developed worlds that have some population, whereas this is better on new planets. Since we're going to be colonizing new planets fairly often, fairly quickly, I think this is the choice. And then down here we get to some stuff that are a little bit more important to our ships. And then research philosophy helps us research things faster. So I think what we'll do is we'll get this production uh, automated rover base so we can get that production so that once we do land and colonize on that world, we can get one of these built and they'll have a base of production to start with. And then we'll start maybe going into the research and getting some research bonuses so that we can research things faster. All right, next you have your planet view. This shows us the planets that we have. We can move people around here just like we did before. Shows us what they're building. If we get leaders, the leaders will go here. And these are planets that we know about but haven't colonized. This is a good place to look to see what you want to colonize next. So you could sort it by size and be like, oh, 15 population. This is a good planet. The climate, Gaia, is obviously the best. Um, or the minerals. So here's one, rich minerals. 3 max population isn't the best, but with rich minerals, we're getting 5 production per worker, whereas these poor ones only give us 2 production per worker. So this plus some industry boosts, we could put out a lot of industry, but our population is bad partly because of the climate. So maybe if we fix the climate, fix the gravity to our liking, we can increase our population, increase our production. And then you can kind of filter things here to show you better planets for colonization. So that's a good window there. This will be our politics window, allow us to talk with other races once we find them and do diplomatic things. And then this is our fleet window. And here we can see what fleets we have. We can scrap ships for money if we have just outdated ships that don't need anything. If we've upgraded a particular ship with a few things and want a ship of the same class to be upgraded to the new design, we can do that here in the refitting. And then we can go into the shipyard, and the shipyard is cool because you can completely customize every ship that you have. Over here you have, you know, say we want laser cannons on this bad boy, we'll put some laser cannons here, just a ton of them over here, just laser cannons for days. This guy will laser up everything in the world. Okay, very nice, but it doesn't have any armor or anything, so this is kind of like a glass cannon. And then of course there's certain things that you have to have, and that's over here with this checklist. You have to have engines. You have to have a positive power output. You have to fill up at least 75% of the slots of the ship, and if there's any power usage or ordnance things like the rockets or the artillery, you have to have enough ammo to fill those weapons. So you can do all kinds of cool stuff. You can take the overlay off so that you can see what it's going to look like, change the paint scheme a little bit. All kinds of cool stuff here. So that's something we'll play with a little bit more when we get into the game proper. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. We've gone through all of the kind of talky points, so I'll kind of put this as like an episode 0. And then we'll really get going on the gameplay in the next episode. And it will be a freaking fun time. I know it. We will get spies out to the galaxy and we will steal everything that we can't barter for or buy. So, until the next time, everybody, I've been Jaylbayt. Game hard and live free. I totally said that backwards. Live free and game hard. See you guys.